Good morning, gamers. We are back again on this lovely Thursday morning. We've got some new gaming stuff to talk about. We've got pretty much everybody included here, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. So a lot of exciting stuff between the PlayStation Plus catalog being updated, Epic Games having some sort of showing. We have Multiverse's peak player count dropping. And the reason why I want to talk about that is just to talk about games as a service in general. Really, that applies to everybody in the industry. And lastly, Saudi Arabia investing more money into Nintendo. Now, quickly, before we jump into that, if you could do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, and share the video. Helps the channel a ton. Now, let's talk about this PlayStation Plus catalog. So for February, Sony is adding quite a few things to this month's PlayStation Plus catalog, and it's a lot of great stuff as well. And starting February 21st, you will have Horizon Forbidden West on a premium service. And this kind of actually shocks me quite a bit because while Horizon Forbidden West is still relatively new, I mean, it's not a full year yet, but by the time it releases on PlayStation Plus, it's going to be a full year, but a very good game to play. And also, it might help with hyping up things as we get closer to the Burning Shores, which is really exciting as well. If you didn't know, that's coming up, I believe, in April. We also have The Quarry added. We have Resident Evil 7 added. We have Outriders added, Scarlet Nexus, Borderlands 3, Tekken 7, Ace Combat 7, Earth Defense Force Oninaki, Lost Sphere, I Am Setsuna. Those three games, incredible games. I highly recommend those. And The Forgotten City as well. Plus, we have some PlayStation Premium classics. The Legend of Dragoon. A lot of people wanted this game to be remade, and I guess you can get it at least on the PS1 classics. You got Wild Arms 2, Harvest Moon, Back to the Nature, and Destroy All Humans for PS4. So a lot of great content being added to PlayStation Plus, and this is what we need to see. We need to see great games getting added. Horizon Forbidden West is a start. It's interesting that it's a premium-only title, but also games like Scarlet Nexus, which is great, Borderlands 3, Tekken 7, all great games. Obviously, the RPG games that I mentioned as well, but when it comes to classics, I feel like they're starting to pick up the pace as well with The Legend of Dragoon becoming, available, Wild Arms 2 and Harvest Moon as well. All three really, really good games, but most excited, The Legend of Dragoon naturally, but really great stuff all around. So great times ahead, great things happening with PS Plus, which is about time because I was very disappointed with Premium at the time because I have Premium and I still do. And to finally see some more games being added is a great thing to see. Now, next we're talking about Epic Games. So they're going to have a showcase at 9:30 a.m. PDT on March 22nd, and they say get a glimpse at what's in store for the future of game development as the Epic Games team takes the stage with our talented partners. We'll take a look at some new projects, dive into the latest Epic tech, and have some fun along the way. What that actually means, who knows, but we're hoping to see some interesting games there. Obviously, Unreal Engine is huge. A lot of games are using it, and it's one of the best engines out there. So I imagine that we're going to see some interesting games there, or we'll at least learn some interesting stuff there as well. So not really too much to talk about there. Nothing super exciting to discuss, but nonetheless, still something to look forward to as we get closer to this date. Now, next we are talking about multiverses, and it's not so much about multiverses specifically. It's about games as a service in general. But basically, per a report from the Video Games Chronicle, player activity in the PC release of Multiverses has dropped close to 99% from its strong debut. Currently, Multiverses on PC is charting at less than 1,000 players as of this time. There hasn't been much news about the game since the last early January. So it's not about Multiverses. This is not targeted about Multiverses. I don't really cover that specifically, but more so it's about games as a service. Games as a service is a very challenging thing to do. And I think a lot of people or a lot of publishers want, a piece of that pie. And unfortunately, it's one of the most challenging things for these publishers to do because, well, it takes a lot to run a games as a service successfully. And it takes a lot of talent and a lot of teamwork and a lot of staff to keep these games fresh and updated. And this kind of makes me worry about Sony and their attempts at doing this themselves. They've obviously announced that they're going to be releasing quite a few titles that are games as a service, and I feel like it's going to be a pretty big challenge. Will they successfully execute these things? I don't know. I mean, how many successful games as a service can you have out there, especially if they're all coming from the same publisher? It is a concern for me. I think it's definitely something to keep in mind, definitely something to think about. A lot of times, man, we hear about Sony's exclusives, and while they're amazing, and I think they're one of the best studios out there in terms of their collection of studios, we can't pretend that the challenge of games as a service doesn't exist. And I really feel Sony is going to face those challenges. Whether they're successful or not is a matter of time. We're just going to have to see what they can put out when the time comes. But I don't know. I'm pretty concerned about the future when it comes to games as a service. I know that they can do single player really well. They've even done multiplayer in some instances really well with Uncharted 4, with the Uncharted games in general, The Last of Us. So I'm not worried about factions, but what I do worry about is all these different games of service that they're going to be releasing, and if they can truly keep up the pace with those. And again, I don't want this to come off as like, oh, Nine is being negative or he's trying to put down Sony or anything like that. No, I just want to come at it like objectively. Like, we see a lot of these games of service shutting down because they just can't keep up with, making these games fresh for people to keep having content to come back to. And we can't pretend that that wouldn't still be a challenge for people like or studios like Sony Studios as well. And so it's something just to keep in mind, and something that I like to think about when I see all these talks of games as a service. I will try them for the ones that I'm interested in for sure. But yeah, I'm skeptical as well. And I think a lot of people are skeptical because it's proven that games as a service is very, very challenging to do. Now, lastly, we're going to be talking about Saudi Arabia's raising their stake in Nintendo from 6.07% to 7.08%. This is something that we're seeing them do. They're investing more into video games, and they've clearly invested quite a bit into Nintendo. And I don't think it's going to stop there. I think we're going to continue to see that happen. It's one of these things where you will definitely hear people talk about how they don't like that kind of thing happening between China and obviously Saudi Arabia. But it's something that I think that just can't be stopped. We're definitely going to see companies come in and countries come in and all sorts of stuff like that, especially with like the likes of like Tencent. You can't stop these kind of things as long as they allow people to invest. That's something that's constantly going to happen. In terms of Nintendo themselves, I mean, a business is a business, so I don't see them ever turning away business in that sense, right? I can't say too much more about this, but I just wanted to throw this out there because I know this is going to be a headlining thing, being that there's a lot of politics around this. But I personally try to spend more time talking about the fun aspects of video games and stay away from the politics, because I'm not like, I don't dabble in politics at all. So definitely don't have anything of value to add to something like this. Whereas if we're talking about games, I have a lot more opinions on that as well. But that is our daily wrap up for today. I mean, it was very shallow, not much to talk about. It was very, very slow news day. But we found some stuff, digging deep, and we found some stuff to talk about. Hopefully we'll see something more enticing and more exciting coming in the next few days. But I'll definitely keep you guys posted and updated on everything that's happening in terms of news topics that I think are substantial and something really exciting. I don't like to focus too much on the minutia because, it's just not exciting to talk about small, tiny little tidbits unless it's about a big exclusive, unless it's about something that's highly anticipated, at least not for me. But if you guys do prefer me to talk about that kind of stuff, you can always let me know in the comments as well. But that's all for today. Let me know what you guys think of PS Plus adding all these games. Are you going to be watching that Epic Games event? How do you feel about games as a service? Do you have concerns with them, especially with Sony focusing so much attention on them? And how do you feel about Saudi Arabia and their investment increased in Nintendo? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you have not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Like the video if you enjoyed it. And share the video, helps the channel a ton. Share it with a friend, bring more people into watching GMG. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, link will be in the description. Thank you all for watching today's video. I'll talk to you all on the next one. Take care.